Cultivating Conservation. I'm Sarah Hirsch. In this module, we're going to be going over a bit of a background and also outline the curriculum. Conservation is not a new topic to agriculture. The United States Department of Agriculture realized the importance of conservation a long time ago. Here's an example of a publication from 1928, Soil Erosion, a National Menace. The impacts and harm of soil erosion on agriculture is evident in these photos, and also how important it is to the livelihoods of the farmers and to the environment. Because of issues like the Dust Bowl and wind and water erosion of agricultural soil, in 1935, Congress passed a law in which it recognized that the wastage of soil and moisture resources on farm, grazing, and forest lands is a menace to the national welfare. And it also directed that the Secretary of Agriculture establish the Soil Conservation Service as a permanent agency in the USDA. In 1994, Congress then changed the name of the Soil Conservation Service to the Natural Resources Conservation Service, which better reflected the broadened scope of the agency's concerns. Today, the priorities of the USDA, or United States Department of Agriculture, Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS, are to improve the quality of our air, water, soil, and habitat, to keep working lands working, to boost rural economies, and to increase the competitiveness of American agriculture. Conservation programs may be offered at the federal, state, or local levels, and the programs provide both technical and financial support. The USDA policy identifies 4 groups of farmers or ranchers as historically underserved, sometimes referred to as HU farmers. Beginning, socially disadvantaged, veterans, and limited resource. To ensure the inclusivity and equitable access to services, the USDA provides special provisions, such as specific incentives or waivers, priorities, or set-asides to HU farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners. However, despite these earmarked services and provisions, the historically underserved farmers' involvement with federal agencies and the enrollment in federal conservation programs is still lower than desired by the USDA. This may be because some groups of HU farmers have a history of mistreatment and discrimination by the USDA, and there may be a lasting mistrust of the agency and hesitation to be involved in agency programs. In Maryland and Delaware, this pool of beginning farmers is quite large. These farmers may not understand what conservation programs are out there and what the agencies do, and therefore they may not access the programs. In Maryland, there's 35% of the total farms and 22% of acreage are beginning farmers. And in Delaware, 27% of the total farms and 22% of the acreage are beginner farmers. Studies have found that both access to information and also building those relationships and trust between farmers and information sources is important for conservation adoption, and interactions with local conservation personnel correlated with practice adoption. Therefore, the project objectives are to direct programming efforts toward the audience of historically underserved farmers, marginalized farmers, and farmers who are not yet customers of the Natural Resource Conservation Service. We'd like to introduce farmers to conservation and various conservation practices and how conservation fits into whole farm planning. Introduce farmers to conservation agencies and the programs that those agencies offer. And we would like to increase understanding of conservation contractual agreements and expectations, and reduce the apprehension and increase the comfort level of farmers to engage and visit with conservation partners such as NRCS. In this curriculum, our modules will go over an introduction to conservation and conservation practices, an introduction to the agencies involved in conservation and the programs available through those various agencies, how we can fit conservation into your whole farm plan, and also areas about contracts and regulations, eligibility, process, compliance, and contract components that relate specifically to historically underserved farmers. Thank you.